Meghan Markle's latest podcast venture has spectacularly dropped out of the streaming charts just weeks after hitting the airwaves. Meghan Markle, so her new podcast series, Confessions of a Female Founder, has failed to burn up the streaming charts. How bad is it really for Meghan?
The glitz and glamour of Hollywood quickly turned into Meghan Markle's worst nightmare when she boldly showed up uninvited at the HBO Max Emmy nominee celebration. Expecting applause and headlines, she was instead met with boos, cold shoulders, and humiliation in front of industry elites. Once a royal basking in global attention, Meghan found herself ignored, sidelined, and deliberately erased from official coverage. What was meant to be a comeback moment became a shocking reminder that her star power has all but faded in Hollywood.
This is pretty bad, Gab. I mean, this show was a multi-million-dollar production. This was what she signed up with Lemonada Media for. Came out last month, the first batch of episodes, and it's just been a complete flop.
Meghan Markle's latest podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, was supposed to mark her big return to the spotlight. Backed by Lemonada Media and promoted as a multi-million-dollar project, expectations were sky high. But within weeks of release, the show plummeted from the charts, disappearing from the top 100 altogether. Critics argue the series lacked depth, relying more on Meghan's celebrity status than genuine content. For someone desperate to prove her relevance, the poor reception signaled a worrying trend of fading influence.
This week, it's out of the top 100 completely. So basically, in a span of a few weeks, the show has completely disappeared without a trace. I think this is a massive PR disaster for Meghan. She chose to interview...
Despite the podcast flop, Meghan tried to force her way back into the spotlight by attending the HBO Max Emmy nominee celebration. The problem? She wasn't invited. Organizers confirmed her name wasn't on the guest list, and no RSVP had ever been made. Entering through a side door with staff in tow, she attempted to appear official, smiling as though she belonged. But Hollywood isn't easily fooled. The room of Emmy-nominated talent saw through the stunt instantly, setting the stage for a humiliating backlash.
Of high-profile women that have built successful businesses, and she got some great people. The woman that created Bumble, all different types of business people. But it never rang true because she's not a business person, Gab. She married a member of the royal family, and then they left the royal family and they made a buck, selling some secrets. But
the reaction was swift and brutal. As Meghan made her way across the ballroom, whispers of disapproval spread like wildfire. Some guests turned their heads, others looked down, refusing to acknowledge her. Then came the boos, first scattered, then growing louder and more direct. What should have been a glamorous entrance turned into a public rejection. In a room where applause is the norm, the chorus of disapproval was a clear sign that Meghan's presence was unwanted and her attempt at relevance had badly misfired.
So I think on that level alone, it doesn't really work. And I think with podcasting, unlike with Netflix, it's not enough just to have this sort of surfacey stuff.
Of course.
When you want people to tune in every week and listen for 40 minutes, I think it needs a bit of substance, and this show had no substance.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon so you never miss the latest royal updates. Now, back to Meghan's downfall. Her calculated entrance wasn't met with admiration, but outright rejection. Instead of smiles or polite applause, Hollywood's elite greeted her with cold stares and dismissive whispers. The industry that once courted her now showed no interest, proving that Meghan's star power has faded. The Emmy night exposed a truth she could no longer ignore. She wasn't welcome.
And Louise, on that post-royal life, a little bit of confused messaging this week over the future of As Ever. Is it being put on hold? Is it launching new products? What's actually going on?
Well, who knows? I don't think even Meghan knows what her so-called lifestyle brand is doing. As Ever, of course, which used to be...
For Meghan, the humiliation didn't stop at the boos. According to insiders, producers made a deliberate decision to erase her from the night entirely. She wasn't photographed in official galleries, wasn't mentioned in press releases, and no sizzle reels included her presence. Attendees described it as a collective rejection, with Hollywood heavyweights making a point not to associate with her. Even those who had once been friendly avoided eye contact or turned away when she approached. The symbolism was undeniable. Being ignored in Hollywood, where exposure equals power, is worse than bad press. For someone used to carefully curated appearances, Meghan was forced to face a reality she could not control. Her brand no longer carried influence. What was meant to be a triumphant re-entry into the Hollywood circle instead became a silent, calculated statement that she no longer belonged in the room.
In the last week alone, we've been told that there's new products coming on Instagram. I mean, I'm thinking maybe it might be honey, given there's been so much footage and social media narrative about her beekeeping, and so you even see Lilibet, you know, obviously disguised in a suit.
Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon so you'll always be updated on the latest royal drama. Now, imagine Meghan, once adored by fans and praised by the media, reduced to searching for friendly faces in a room full of silence. Witnesses say her smile faltered as she realized no one was willing to engage. Stars like Zendaya reportedly turned away, Pedro Pascal walked off mid-conversation, and producers she once mingled with acted as if she didn't exist. Security hesitated, unsure whether to escort her out or let her linger. Ultimately, she was quietly directed to a seat near the exit, handed water instead of champagne, and kept far from the spotlight. To many, this treatment was more humiliating than removal. She was there, yet invisible, stripped of relevance. Hollywood's message was crystal clear. Meghan's attempt to force her comeback had only confirmed her downfall.
An interview she did with the magazine in which she said that no, there'll be no new products until 2026. And on the other hand, she's saying she's pausing her lifestyle brand because she's worried that maybe the quality of the stock or the quantity of the stock as well is not up.
For an industry that thrives on optics, the way Meghan was handled spoke volumes. Publicists, actors, and executives all avoided her because simply being photographed near her had become a liability. One blogger described the moment perfectly. She floated through the room like someone chasing relevance, and everyone kept walking. The rejection wasn't loud or chaotic. It was strategic, intentional, and devastating. Every move she made was tracked by phones, yet no one offered her a lifeline. Even acquaintances she had worked with in the past refused eye contact, afraid of the headlines that would follow. For Meghan, who once thrived on public attention and crafted her image through carefully staged moments, this raw and unfiltered rejection shattered the illusion of control. The Emmy event didn't just exclude her from the conversation, it underlined her fading power and showed Hollywood had collectively moved on without her.
Of course, she did engender one of those classic marketing techniques by making everything sell out very quickly because there was a real sense of FOMO created, and she only had something like less than 50 jars of jam and they all went at lightning speed, some of which were given away to.
The scene grew even more surreal as Meghan attempted to join conversations with directors, showrunners, and streaming executives. Instead of being welcomed, they turned their backs, leaving her standing awkwardly in silence. One insider said the secondhand embarrassment was overwhelming. It wasn't even funny, just painfully uncomfortable. Security staff admitted there was confusion about whether to remove her, but with so many phones recording, they chose the quieter option, keep her seated near the exit and out of the spotlight. Attendees later revealed that she was offered no interviews, no champagne, and no red carpet moments, only the bare minimum to avoid a scandalous ejection. For Meghan, who once relied on curated narratives and polished optics, this moment was unfiltered reality, and that reality was brutal. She wasn't seen as a guest or a peer, but as an outsider. What do you think? Was this cold treatment fair, or did Hollywood go too far in rejecting her so publicly?
It's an absolute muddle. I mean, she's playing at being an entrepreneur. Clearly, she should have got a proper CEO or entrepreneur in charge of the business, and she may not have found herself in this mess, but I don't believe she was able to find the right person.
The aftermath of Meghan's uninvited appearance quickly turned into a textbook PR disaster. By the next morning, her team reportedly tried to push staged photos to wire services in an attempt to rewrite the narrative, but none of the major photo agencies picked them up, signaling how determined Hollywood was to erase her presence. One PR manager even revealed that HBO's internal directive was crystal clear. She's not on the list, she's not in the edit. In other words, Meghan would be scrubbed from all official event coverage as if she had never been there at all. For someone who had built her post-royal identity around controlling the media, this was devastating. At the Emmy event, she couldn't manipulate the optics, and that loss of control was more damaging than any tabloid headline. Industry insiders say this wasn't about one night, it was about sending a message. Hollywood thrives on relevance, but Meghan's presence proved she no longer had it. She walked in trying to spark a comeback, but walked out as proof that her star had burned out.
Bronte, on a more fun side, and obviously it was Lilibet's birthday this week, the Sussexes were off to Disneyland for the week. Can you tell us about the trip? Anything notable about it?
Well, yes. I mean, I feel like we were all quite captivated by that birthing video, but it was in fact Lilibet's birthday, and
For Meghan, the silence following the event may have been the harshest blow of all. Normally, even the most minor celebrity appearances generate media chatter, gossip headlines, and endless social media debates. But this time, the industry moved on without her. Her name was absent from Emmy wrap-ups, red carpet highlights, and after-party reports. It was as if she had never set foot in the ballroom. According to witnesses, the few who did capture her on their phones described her as a ghost guest, floating through the venue with no recognition. For someone who once drew cameras effortlessly, this sudden invisibility was catastrophic. What made it worse was the intentionality. Hollywood didn't just forget her, they chose to erase her. That deliberate exclusion spoke louder than any tabloid rumor or online backlash. Meghan had hoped to reignite interest in her career and prove she still mattered, but instead she left as a cautionary tale of what happens when fame collides with desperation.
did enjoy 2 days, as Meghan posted on Instagram, 2 days at Disneyland, and she posted a whole video which included, footage of them running around the place and going on rides, all wearing their Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse ears, and also meeting Elsa from Frozen. It's quite a cute video. Interestingly, she has included some pictures in there of the two children front on, but then she's put emojis over their face because, as we know, she
Insiders suggest the Emmy debacle has permanently shifted how Hollywood views Meghan Markle. In an industry where image is everything, being openly rejected at such a prestigious event marks a rare and damaging precedent. Typically, stars are shielded by layers of PR management, ensuring that even awkward moments are spun into something positive. But Meghan's rejection wasn't hidden. It was raw, public, and unforgettable. Executives and actors alike made a collective choice to distance themselves, knowing the optics of standing beside her could harm their own brands. For Meghan, who has carefully tried to reposition herself as a thought leader, philanthropist, and businesswoman, this collapse of support leaves her with few options. Even her lifestyle brand, still in limbo, has been criticized as directionless and confused. To many, the Emmy incident didn't just expose a bad night, it exposed the deeper truth that Meghan lacks a clear identity in Hollywood, and without a role to play, the industry has little reason to keep her in the spotlight.
Then she is keeping it sort of partially obscured, but they seem to have a really nice time in Disneyland. Again, I was reminded of the fact she's an influencer now because it was the thank you Disneyland for having us post. Something that was very interesting about it was I wondered how they managed to do 2 days there without shutting down the park and without having people taking.
Even Meghan's attempt to soften her image afterward fell flat. Days later, she posted a cheerful video from Disneyland to mark Lilibet's birthday, complete with rides, costumes, and carefully staged family moments. But even that was criticized as more influencer-style content rather than a genuine family celebration. Some noted she blurred the children's faces with emojis, while others pointed out the polished "Thank you Disneyland" caption made it feel more like a brand promotion than a personal post. It highlighted how Meghan is now struggling to find the balance between public figure, entrepreneur, and mother, and failing to convince the public in each role. The contrast between the Disney video and the brutal Emmy night rejection painted a clear picture. No matter how carefully she tries to curate her life online, the real-world perception is slipping out of her control. What do you think? Can Meghan recover her credibility, or has Hollywood decided once and for all that she's no longer relevant?
The public, but there are reports that they got a special sort of celebrity VIP package which is offered to high-profile guests, which sees them sort of driven around backstage and also given the cast entrances and exits so that they're not in the public space as much. And also it appears that the kids may have had their little cute Mickey and Minnie Mouse ears on.
Behind the scenes, experts argue Meghan's downfall comes from a lack of strategy. When she and Harry left royal life, they were seen as potential power players with lucrative deals and massive global influence. Yet years later, projects like the Spotify deal collapsed, Netflix output slowed, and her new podcast has already slipped into obscurity. Critics say Meghan has leaned too heavily on her title and personal narrative rather than building a sustainable brand or demonstrating real expertise. At the Emmy event, this weakness was exposed in the most unforgiving way. Hollywood celebrates merit, not entitlement. Without meaningful work to back up her presence, Meghan's appearance looked desperate rather than powerful. For someone once praised as a modern independent woman breaking royal tradition, she now faces the opposite perception, a celebrity clinging to relevance. If Meghan wants to rebuild her standing, she'll need more than glossy PR or staged outings. She'll need substance.
were wearing glasses, so that would have kept their privacy a little bit further. But yes, that was how they celebrated Lilibet's birthday. We don't know how Archie's birthdays have been celebrated. We've gone really big for Lily's 4th, but it does seem to be the first time we're actually getting a real glimpse into how the Sussexes celebrate their kids' birthdays.
Industry insiders also point out that Meghan underestimated how unforgiving Hollywood can be. In the royal world, protocol and tradition often shielded her from open criticism, but in Los Angeles, reputations rise and fall on merit and connections. Walking into the Emmy event without a project, nomination, or even a formal invitation exposed her lack of standing. Worse, it reminded everyone of the failed ventures she's left behind. Unlike other celebrities who reinvent themselves through consistent work, Meghan's portfolio is scattered. Part podcasting, part lifestyle branding, part documentary, with nothing concrete holding it together. This lack of direction makes her easy to dismiss, and the Emmy night drove that point home. Instead of being seen as a multifaceted talent, she was viewed as an outsider trying to insert herself into a conversation she no longer belonged in. The industry thrives on authenticity and achievement, and without those, Meghan's position looks increasingly unsustainable.
Takes me to my next question, Louise. You know, we've seen some photos that we haven't been released before. We're definitely seeing more of the kids in recent months. Obviously very tightly managed, and look, I have no objection. I mean, they're very little kids, and I know they've been very protective of their kids in the past and still to an extent now.
Meghan Markle's uninvited Emmy appearance will likely be remembered as a turning point in her Hollywood journey. What she hoped would be a moment of resurgence instead exposed how far her influence has slipped. From boos echoing across the ballroom to her complete erasure from official coverage, the message was loud and clear. The industry has moved on. Once embraced as a fresh voice and royal trailblazer, Meghan now faces the harsh reality that star power fades quickly without substance to sustain it. Her brand feels fragmented, her ventures uncertain, and her attempts at control increasingly ineffective. In a world where reputation is everything, this rejection may have lasting consequences for her career. But here's the big question for you. Do you think Meghan can reinvent herself and claw her way back, or has Hollywood permanently shut its doors on her? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss the latest updates.